Naturally, I'd like to be here under much better circumstances, Andrew. Andrew Johns being arrested in London in possession of an ecstasy tablet. That's a big story. But listening to Talkback Radio today and public opinion, most of it has surrounded the excuse that was delivered this morning by way of a press statement that an unknown person had planted this or put it into your pocket and you didn't realise it was there or you forgot it was there. Most people just don't buy that. Can you understand their thinking?
Yeah, totally. I can understand it, but you know, I'll stand by it. I left the place and someone come up and just, I don't know whether they handed it to me or put it in my pocket, and then I got caught with it. Look, I put my hand up. I was going to take it. Just
explain where you'd been that day and how you actually come to get a tablet in your possession.
I'd been at a place called the Church where a lot of Australians and New Zealanders go, and obviously been there for 4 or 5 hours and had a few beers. And then I was leaving, and then an unknown person come up and just sort of come up to me in a crowded area. And then, I don't know if he put it in my pocket or put it in my hand, but it was in my pocket. As I said, I forgot all about it. I put my hand up. I knew what he was giving me, and you know, I was in the wrong.
When you say an unknown person, you'd never seen this person before?
Never.
And you accepted a tablet off him. Did you know what it was when you took it?
Of course I knew.
You knew it was ecstasy when you took it? When you took it off him and put it in your pocket, did you intend to use it?
Yeah.
You intended to use it?
Yeah.
When you were arrested, how did you get from there to being picked up by police?
We went on the tube, and I didn't have a ticket, so I was at the train station, and there was a couple of Australian girls, and they just said, come through on our pass, and they sort of waved their things over the scanner, and I snuck through, went on the tube for I don't know how many stations, but I got off, and when I got off, I went to go through with her, and when I looked up, there was, you know, a dozen police there. So I actually asked the policeman, where do you buy a ticket at? So
it's a good move.
Yeah, great move. So when I went to buy the ticket, they obviously searched me and found the ecstasy tablet.
All right, and from that point, you were arrested, handcuffed, put in jail.
Yep.
How long were you in jail?
About 6 hours, I think.
What was that like?
Probably the most, the scariest moment of my life.
What was it like? Were you with other people in there?
I was in a cell of my own, but you know, in the other cells there was a couple of crazy men just running and charging into the walls and screaming out constantly, and it you know, really shook me up. It was really scary.
Did you think at this time that you were going to be charged with a drug offence?
Yeah.
Or were they always saying that there was going to be a caution?
No. They asked when I was going home, and I said hopefully the next day, and they sort of shook their head and said I was a silly boy. And then I thought I'd be charged and then go to court later that week or something. Just
go back to actually getting the tablet. You say you never met this bloke before, you didn't know who he was, you knew it was ecstasy, you put it in your pocket and you intended to use it later. That would suggest to me, if you knew what it was and you intended to take it, that you had taken drugs before. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's correct. It's happened before. People have come up to me and give me ecstasy before.
You've only been retired from rugby league 4 months, so am I to assume that you were still taking drugs when your playing days? I mean, does it go back that far?
Yeah.
How far?
Probably 10 years. Yeah, probably 10 years. I've taken it on and off, generally during the off-season, but there's times when during the season I've run the gauntlet and played Russian roulette and taken it.
I've known your drinking habits, and football had a drinking culture when you first came into rugby league. So you're saying for 10 or 12 years of this illustrious career that you were in the grip of drug and alcohol. Do you call it dependency, or do you call it...
No, I wouldn't say I was in drug dependency. I do it occasionally. I think I had an alcohol problem, but it was more in the off-season I'd do it just as a relief. Can you remember when you started?
Can you first remember when you felt, I need to take recreational drugs?
Well, I was about 19, 20, 21 when I first started it. And to be honest, I sort of used it to escape all the pressure and stuff.
Well, that was my next question. Why? I mean, why do you take it? People won't wear that. People won't wear that. When you say you escape, what are you escaping from? Being Andrew Johns?
Well, just probably the pressure involved. And look, it's not all black and white. There's other areas too. You know, there's medical reasons and that contribute to my, I suppose, my reckless behaviour. But I don't want to make excuses. I've put my hand up. I've done the wrong thing, and I'm so ashamed of it. But there's no excuses. So
how regular is you? I mean, you're playing top-class football. You're regarded as one of the best, if not the best of all time. We've seen the football that you've played. Yet you're telling us at regular interviews you've bashed yourself up with recreational drugs.
During the year?
During the year?
No, during the year it happened only a couple of times. And, people probably ask, how do you avoid the drug testers? Well, if you play a Friday night and you don't train on a Saturday, Sunday, then generally it's out by Monday.
Yeah. How did you live with that lie?
I've lived with it for 10 years. It just adds to the paranoia, and you go out Friday night, or you go out and you sort of hammer yourself, and then you don't know where you've been for 2 days. It can really get down.
Was this a need? I mean, did you feel the need to have this drug to get away from whatever pressure it was you're feeling, or was it just the sake of having a good time? What was it?
I don't know what it was. Look, it was, during the year when I was playing, some years I went the whole season without touching it. And then in the off-season I'd do it. But then there's a couple of times during the season when I would take it.
Did you look forward to taking it? I mean, was it in the back of your mind the whole time, I can't wait for my next time?
There was times when I'm playing the biggest games of the season and it'd be in the back of my mind.
2003, prior to the Origin series that year, I was the coach, you were the player, and it was publicised at that time that you and I had had a falling out, when in fact we hadn't. You'd told me at that time that you were sick of rugby league and wanted to quit. This is back in 2003.
Yeah.
And you were stressed, you were under pressure, and we in fact spoke about it pretty heavily at that time. And you felt that living at Newcastle in this fishbowl and the Andrew Johns, the high-profile bloke, you couldn't deal with it anymore. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
How often did you feel like that? I mean, is that the escape you were looking from? Is it the expectation, the profile, the pressure?
My life's been great, and I think everyone at home would realise how lucky I am. But the pressure's involved. It's not until I finished that I realised just how much pressure I was under. Whether I use that for an escape or not, but as I said, mate, there's other factors which are involved with it, but probably mostly it was just all the pressure and stuff, yeah.
The bloke getting up, going to work, 7 days a week, earning his $50,000 to put food on the table, he doesn't understand Andrew Johns, with all this money and all this talent, needs to escape from that sort of life. I mean...
I know, I couldn't blame him. I think people like that have to get up and work the long hours and earn that sort of money to pay their mortgage off. The
people closest to you, your family, your brother, your parents, did they know?
Yeah, I think so.
Your football club, did they know?
I'd say so, on occasions.
Your teammates?
Yep.
The media? Was there anyone in the media who knew this secret?
Well, there's always rumours, I think.
All right, we might take a break. When we come back up, a couple of times that depression was a big thing in your life, and you also said there's medication and conditions. Can you elaborate on that? I mean, do you take medication for depression?
I sort of have for the last 5 years or so.
Constantly during that time?
Yeah, pretty constant.
Who diagnosed that for you?
Club doctors and a professor here in Sydney about sort of 6 or 7 years ago. But originally, I never did want to take it because it stabilised me and took away, I suppose, these incredible highs I got on. But invariably after the highs, I'd crash to lows where I wouldn't leave the house for 4 days.
I didn't get to see you all that often in person. I mean, we might talk every now and then, but I've got to say mood swings were a part of your character.
Yeah.
You had...
And it contributed to the way I behave, It could be a matter of days. 1 minute I could be literally willing to take the world on, and that's when I was at my creative best, when I'd be playing. But then one day, I can turn up the field and wouldn't want to talk to anybody.
Were the mood swings brought on by the drug taking, or was the drug taking because of the mood swings?
I've had it for a while.
It's remarkable to me that you can say for the last 10 or 12 years you've had this drug taking, and fairly regularly, as you say. The NRL claims to have a stringent drug testing policy. How many times in your career, in those 12 years, were you actually drug tested?
I'd say 2 or 3 times a year.
2 or 3 times, so we're talking 25, 30 times?
Yeah.
25, 30 times in your career you're drug tested, yet you're frequently using. How do you don't get caught?
Well, not frequently using during the year. I'd use it occasionally during the year when I was playing. I spoke before of playing Russian roulette. This was like sometimes to take it and then feel like I was on the borderline. Maybe I could go positive, maybe I could go negative. And scrape through.
Wasn't that a warning?
It was a warning.
You actually took drug tests and you thought, I could fail this.
Yeah.
How were you for the next...
it's funny, you see other players and I see mates who have gone positive and you think, I'd hate to be in their situation. I can't imagine how humiliating and embarrassing and, it would be for yourself. But until it's you in front of the paper with your head there, I can't describe how humiliating it is for not only you but your family.
I don't know whether you will or whether you can answer this question, but is this just you? Is this rife in rugby league? Are there more players who are playing Russian roulette with the drug system?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to answer.
You don't know or you don't want to answer?
Well, I don't know and I don't want to answer.
So you've never seen drug use in other players? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't want to. I'm here to talk about myself, not other players.
All right, well, don't call it rugby league players. Call it society. You're a young bloke, you're out about town all the time. What about in society? How prevalent is drug use in nightclubs and all the places you frequent?
It's everywhere you go in nightclubs.
That's the honest part of it. It's everywhere. So if footballers are out everywhere, then it's only wise to assume that footballers are exposed to this all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't tar everyone on the same brush.
Right. So since 1999, there have been 5 NRL players suspended because of recreational drug positive tests. We get a fellow like Ben Cousins in the AFL, big name. Shane Warne, big name. Wendell Saylor, big name. Craig Field at the time, big name. They go positive. You sit back and look at the headlines. What are you thinking?
I remember thinking how easy that could have been me. It's had so many close calls. And I spoke about before, you think about the humiliation you put on yourself, not only yourself, your family. But it's not until you wake up in the morning and realise that you're the one on the front of the paper that I haven't slept in days, I haven't eaten. I just can't describe how bad I felt. Sitting there this morning trying to explain to my 7-year-old son what I'd done in London.
I'll come back to that in a minute. I can't understand, and this is what I can never understand about footballers, and you're not the only one that I've ever spoken to about this, trust me. And you're not the only one to ever go positive, trust me. But when you sign a contract that says, I will not do drugs, when you have so much to risk, your family, your contract, your money, your future, your reputation, what drives you to say, well, I'll still give it one more go?
I've got no idea. For me the problem was alcohol. I would never intentionally go to take drugs. But then, I'd have 6 or 8 beers and then I just wouldn't care.
You talked about the headlines, and I remember as a coach I would bring headlines in when this would happen, and I'd tell my players, just imagine your photo alongside these headlines. This morning it's your picture in the paper alongside those drug headlines. How do you feel when you see that it's you now?
Well, it's hard to put into words. In a way, I can deal with it being me, but my family, what they have to put up with, my partner's family, and I spoke before, but I had to sit down and tell my son before he went to school today about what went on. It just...
Was that tough? I mean, I know it's tough talking to your 7-year-old son. I probably don't even want you to answer this. If it's tough for you to sit down and explain to your 7-year-old son why Dad's in the paper on drug charges, How do you think, or what have you exposed him to when he goes to school tomorrow? I mean, can you get your head around what you've now done to him?
Yeah.
Can players out there appreciate that their kids also live with the stigma, or what kids will say in school about their dad?
Well, it surprised me just how much, he knew as a 7-year-old. And, it's just incredible selfish behaviour when you think about it.
It's timely. Every household in Australia this week has got something from the government, from the National Drugs Campaign, about talking with your kids about drugs. It's every parent's fear. I've got kids. We've all got kids. We all worry about the day our kids are going to be exposed to the temptation of drugs. Do you understand how difficult it is for people to deal with this and deal with talking to their kids about drugs when high-profile people keep legitimising it, whether it be movie stars or actors or rock concert or sportsmen? What do you say to the parents about their kids and what this has done?
Well, my past 10 or 12 years has been like a fairy tale. And, I've been so lucky, I've experienced so much, but I think about some of the great times I've had, and they've just been destroyed because I've taken drugs. I look back now and, I'm so ashamed of it. It's destroyed some of the great times in my life.
Where do you go for here? Where do you go for here? I mean, I said to you today that, this won't be the end of the world. You're only human and you'll get over this. We all make mistakes. And I put my hand up. We've all made mistakes in our lives. Where do you go from here? And I said to you that maybe your great playing career, and this has happened to you, maybe this is the reason you're here. Can you see a positive in you becoming a campaigner, an advocate, or the face of drug reform, or to help parents, footballers, clubs, with the embarrassment that you're feeling now? Is there a way for you to get a positive out of this? Is it something you want to do, or do you want to run away from it?
No, I'd like to somehow influence young people or young players. This is the road you don't want to go down. I'm confident, well, I know I'll never touch a drug again. The way I felt, being handcuffed, being in that London lockup in the jail, it's just a feeling I can't describe. I'll never go near it again.
You actually said to me today that in a way it's a relief. This is now an excuse to stop. I know this is hard for you tonight. I know it's the last couple of days. This isn't going to go away. It'll be with you forever. But is there some way that you see it's a relief now? It's out in the open. I can get on with it, and I can not do it again.
Well, it's a clean slate. I've lived with this. I feel like it's a lie. I've lived for a long time, and I've been so ashamed of it. But now it's all out in the open. Wouldn't say it's glad it's happened. I can't say that, but with what's happened, I've got to take something out of it. I'd be a mug otherwise. And if it means I'll never touch that again, so be it. But to influence other people, I think that's maybe the greatest thinking I'm out of it.
All right, mate. Very brave tonight. Thanks for your time, and thanks.